of the week.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy.
This week's game of the week is none other than Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and my god, this game was so unbelievably fun. Like its predecessor, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, that game was good. And you know, it kind of felt like with Fallen Order, they were trying to make their presence known in the Star Wars universe, but it never really like grabbed the reins and was like, I'm taking over. Whereas with Jedi Survivor, from the very early stages of this game, they kicked the frickin' door in and were like, look at me, I am the Star Wars now. And a special shout out to the team over at EA and Respawn who were kind enough to give us early access and support us all week long with Star Wars Week. That being said, if you haven't played the game yet, please stop what you're doing. Go pick up the game. It's a fantastic experience. And with this being our Game of the Week review, I mean, word of warning, we're going to be talking about some major spoilers here. So please, from this point on, nobody in the comment section better be like, whoa, man, what are you doing? You're talking about spoilers here. We are moving into spoiler territory starting now. So if you don't want to hear it, spoiler headphones on. My God, please, I do not want to ruin this game for anybody who would want to try it, but if you're wanting to hear how the game goes and what my thoughts are, that's what we're doing here. So again, spoiler territory. If you want to help us out with retention, watch the rest of this video on mute, but if not, please stop listening and come back once you played the game and let me know how your experience was. And you know, probably the best place to start is by talking about the intro of this game. Star Wars Jedi Survivor sets off in a really cool and unique way. We're on Coruscant, and Cal is currently captured by like this group of bounty hunters, and they're on their way to see Senator Sajin, who is from Utapau, and is the baddie that we've kind of seen throughout this entire experience. And while we're flying, we get to see the newly converted Imperial Palace, which used to be the Jedi Temple. And low-key, I gotta admit, like, I've seen my fair share of like DIY Network and HGTV flip shows, but like the audacity of putting just banners on the Jedi Temple and being like, we turned it into the Imperial Palace. It's just, okay, bud, that's definitely a choice. Oh, I would also like to point out that prior to Star Wars Jedi Survivor coming out, we did post our predictions for this game, and I said we would see the Imperial Palace or the former Jedi Temple, and 100% we did. Granted, I wanted more than just like a flyby, but like, I'm going to count that as a win as far as my predictions go. Now, early on, there's a really cool moment in this game that I think kind of just solidified like the overall experience I was going to have with this game. As you're walking with the bounty hunters to go see the Senator, you have this moment that's really small, but you're being escorted by these twin dogs, and suddenly the Senator comes on the television, and if you stop to watch it for too long, instead of letting you just watch it forever and then like you see a loop, the twin bulldogs will actually hit you from behind and force you to continue walking. Again, it's just such a small detail, but like it's a level of immersion that really made me feel like my decisions were impacting the overall game. So from there, we get to the Senator, and he starts talking like, I finally caught you, Cal. Nice lightsaber. The Jedi are a dying breed, and soon my children will be like, what was this used for, Granddad? But little does the Senator know, he's walked straight into a trap. Yeah, because BD-1 comes in, he sabotages the trade-off, and Cal is able to begin to like fight off the stormtroopers and uses the Force to take his lightsaber back. And this is a key moment in the game because this was the first time that I really noticed a difference between Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, because Cal felt so OP in this moment. Like, the moment I'm fighting lightsabers and I'm blocking shots and I'm using the lightsaber's doing like one-shots on stormtroopers and it's cutting off limbs, and it's so sick. And it was just such a great use of like, hey, we're going to teach you how to play the game again, but remind you that you're now a overpowered Jedi, so welcome back to the Star Wars universe. And after this moment, you know, the Senator escapes to his yacht. BD-1 sets off like an EMP. Y'all hear that cat? A random cat outside who wants to be a part of this podcast, apparently. So, I don't know if y'all can hear it. Is like growling at me. Excuse me. You mind leaving the show, please? We got a studio cat now. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, the senator escapes on his yacht. BD-1 sets off an EMP, and it causes the yacht to crash land into like this factory. And from there, we find out that the bounty hunter is actually one of Cal's friends, and they were in on like the whole trap as well. So one of the friends is his name is Bode Akuna, who is pretty cool. He's like a jetpack wearing peacemaker superhero looking, slick back hair. And he admits to be like this gun for hire that's literally just doing this to kind of pay for his daughter's hiding. And his daughter's being hunted by the Empire. We meet her later on in the game. But this is also where we get our first interaction with the Jedi Survivor's new ally fighting system. So as you progress through the game, various characters are going to join you in battle, and you can hold down like R1 and press square, and they will actually attack the enemy that you're fighting. Now, this reminded me a whole lot of Kingdom Hearts, where like, yes, they're fighting in battle, but like they're not really doing much damage. It was kind of cool to see this feature in like a Souls-like game. But in reality, this AI ally system, really what I used it for was like distracting enemies that I just didn't want to have to deal with while I'm fighting someone else. It worked. It was cool in the game, but like, you know, as that technology progresses, I just hope that like maybe one day like the AI can actually kill enemies and hold their own in battle as well. I would think it would be kind of cool to see like, you know, like let's use the AI and have them get in trouble and I have to rescue them every once in a while, kind of like how Joel does with Ellie in Last of Us, but that never happened in the game. Now, jumping back into the story, a bunch of stuff goes down. You fight a bunch of stormtroopers and you're kind of just learning the mechanics of the game as well. And then we finally get to the crash yacht. We interrogate the senator, and as we're leaving, all hell breaks loose. The senator gets killed, and we find out that the Inquisitors are back. Because yes, you are an overpowered Jedi at this moment, but you are still being hunted by the Empire, and you better not sleep on the Inquisitors because they will kill you. All right, and this might be a good time for like our non-Star Wars friends, just to explain like the Inquisitors are part of the Empire. They're former Jedis that have agreed to hunt down the Jedi or Force-sensitive individuals to kind of complete like this galactic genocide of Order 66. During the Clone War, the Emperor was like, execute Order 66, and from there, everybody killed a Jedi. But now, the Inquisitors are going after the Jedi that are in hiding. And as a Star Wars fan, like, I love the idea of Inquisitors. Like, I think the idea of having extra bad guys that aren't Vader or the Emperor are always cool to have, but, you know, the one we got early on in the game, the Ninth Sister, she's one of those characters that, like, Star Wars nailed visually. I mean, she looks menacing and super believable that she's part of the Star Wars universe, but the voice. I mean, no gripe on the voice actress. She did a good job. It's just the voice, in my opinion, didn't really match the look of the Ninth Sister. But sure enough, we get the showdown, Cal versus the Ninth Sister. Cal, of course, holds his own. This is where we get our dual wielding lightsaber ability here in the game. And obviously, Cal tries to convert the Ninth Sister back to the good side of the Force, and that fails. And Cal kills the Ninth Sister in battle. And from this moment on, the game really starts like cooking. Like it starts moving forward. We get to see like Cal, Bode, and then like the rest of these like bounty hunter rebels kind of move forward and like try to escape from the planet. And there's this scene where like they're flying X-Wings and the Mantis through these tunnels, and it's just so Star Wars. Like there's a shot of Bode in a cockpit with the windows behind him, and it's just such a iconic Star Wars shot that I'm like, man, I'm immediately in love with this game at this moment. And that is kind of like the intro of this game. Like it was a crazy start. It was action-packed. It was a great way to kind of remind you of like, hey, this is what you got to do in the game, but we're also going to grab you by the shirt and yank you back into the universe because we're leaving Coruscant and we get to kind of explore new planets. And the new planets in this game are Coruscant, Kobo, the Shattered Moon, Jeddah, Nova Garen, and Tanalorr. Kobo is this craggy, valley-ridden world that is kind of like the home base for the game. It's also home to like this key location called Rambler's Reach. It's an outpost that has like various missions, vendors, and as you progress, the people you meet in-game will actually begin to relocate to Rambler's Reach and set up shop. The Shattered Moon is an old moon refinery that kind of reminded me of like Destiny. Like art style wise, it didn't really feel Star Wars-y. It felt more like a Destiny 2 level, which kind of started this really weird like internal debate that I had. Like, did Star Wars inspire Destiny or did Destiny inspire Star Wars for this game? Because yeah, you could be like, yeah, this feels like a Destiny 2 level, but then at the same time, Destiny 2 borrowed a lot from Star Wars. But I don't know, this definitely wasn't one of my favorite levels. Jeddah is the desert planet that we've come to know throughout like the Star Wars universe. It was in Rogue One, it was in Kenobi, but in game, this is where Seer and Merrin have been kind of hiding out. They're stationed on this planet. Seer is trying to rebuild the Jedi Archive, and Merrin is assisting with the Path, which again, going back to predictions, I predicted that we would see more of the Path in this game. We knew that it was taking place around the same timeline as Kenobi, and while yes, we didn't get to see people physically on the Path, we were very aware of its presence, and we had to buy the Path time in order for them to escape off the planet. Nova Garen was less of a planet and more kind of like this space rock that was home to the Imperial Security Bureau. Cal has a really fun mission on this planet, but we're actually not on this facility for very long. And the final planet is Tanalorr, which is kind of like the center of this game's plot. Tanalorr is an oasis-like planet that's hidden behind a nebula that only can be found when you have the proper compass, which reminded me a lot of Exegol and the Sith Wayfinders from Rise of the Skywalker. However, Tanalorr is a lot more beautiful than Exegol, and the goal for Cal and company is to move the Resistance and those in need to this planet that is far from the reach of the Empire. And the planets in this game were a major highlight for me, because outside of Jeddah and Coruscant, like all of these are new locations that we didn't have in the Star Wars universe or never had seen before. And the maps that we got to explore felt gigantic. I mean, Kobo had so much to do on that planet that even though I've beaten the game, I'm probably like 80% done exploring that planet. Like there's still 20% to do and a lot of things left to do. If you're a type of gamer that I call like an adventurer, you like to find hidden objects or go find areas that other gamers haven't found, you're going to love this game because every planet has so much of that. But I guess now that I'm thinking about it, like if I had to rank the locations that we play, 6th place, probably Shattered Moon. Again, it was a cool moment in the story, but it just, there was nothing there that grabbed me. 5th would probably be Nova Garen. Like, it's a cool Imperial base, but, like, you're only there for, like, 10 seconds of the story. 4th place would be Tanalorr. With as much hype as there was around the actual location in the game, there just wasn't the reward of arriving. 3 would be Coruscant. I definitely think it would be cool to like expand upon Coruscant a little bit. Like let me go to the Imperial Palace. Let me have a little more outside of like just jumping from building to building. 2 probably would be Kobo, which is weird because like there's a lot to do on that planet and I love that planet. But number 1 has to be Jeddah. Like Jeddah is one of the best planets on this. It's absolutely beautiful. I loved playing this planet, I loved exploring it, I loved the overall look, the feel, and every mission that took place on this planet was an absolute banger. And this is like 100% like a Bryant Chappelle feel here, but like when you arrive on Jeddah, they took one of my favorite movies and put it in this game. They legit have Tremors in this game. You're standing on the sand and these giant monsters come out and they chase you down depending on like your movement on the sand. If you've never seen Tremors, once you're done watching this video, do yourself a favor, watch Tremors. It's a terrible sci-fi movie, but it is such a great sci-fi movie at the same time. And I loved that there was like a reference to that in this game. On Jeddah, we also had that really cool speeder bike scene that is later in the game, but it's probably one of the most epic moments in a Star Wars video game. And then you have the drill fight battle that's like on the mountain and you and Merrin are trying to take this drill down, and Merrin uses her wormhole technology, which I know this is a Respawn game, but man, did it give me like Wraith vibes from Apex Legends. And of course, you have the invasion, which is probably the best part of this game. The invasion sequence of Jeddah is just... It brought me back to playing Lord of the Rings and playing Helm's Deep, and I absolutely adored that nostalgia. And it's legit the peak moment of this game. Which, you know what, let's just jump into that. You're on Jeddah, you uncover the compass that's going to take you to Tanalorr, and our newly found friend, Bode, is actually a bad guy. He betrays us, steals the compass, and reveals that he's a red lightsaber-wielding Inquisitor. But he's undercover, so he's not really an Inquisitor, but he works for the Empire. So you get into like this speeder bike chase, and you're chasing down Bode, and TIE fighters are coming, and stormtroopers are coming, and you know, the invasion's going on while you're kind of like navigating the deserts of Jeddah. And it shows up to like this lightsaber battle. And he pulls out his red lightsaber and nearly kills Cal. And like Cal dies on the side of the cliff. So we think. And the game allows us to then take over as Seer. Which if you are like me at the beginning of this game, you're like, man, they made Cal really OP. Seer is beyond overpowered in this game. Seer is dealing with the Imperial invasion of Jeddah. And she's literally like slicing stormtroopers left and right. She's pulling down transport ships out of the sky, destroying AT-ATs with giant boulders, and ultimately leads to like the most epic showdown with Big Daddy Vader. You know, she hears blasters going off in this sealed room, and then people scream, and the noise dies down, and she just senses that evil is coming. The door opens, there's flames, and out walks Darth Vader just walking in through the fog. And major shout out to Respawn and EA about this, because the way that they use Vader is genius. You know, Vader is obviously the overarching villain of this game. You know, you're constantly aware that the Empire is out there and that Vader's out there, but you don't see him. So he's like this menacing evil that you're just constantly afraid of. And when he showed up, it's literally like, oh shit. And yeah, and you have this epic moment where Seer's like, I have been waiting for this moment. And she goes Obi-Wan Kenobi, Disney Plus Kenobi series on him and just takes him to the limit. I legit thought there was going. I'm like, man, are we about to see a third time that Vader loses? He loses to Obi-Wan, he lost to Ahsoka, and now is he going to lose to Seer as well? But no, Vader gets the upper hand. He kills Seer after just an epic battle, and we end up getting to take back over for Cal, who's now back alive. And he's kind of back at the temple taking care of Seer's body. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, like, the villains in this game were like super solid, right? You had like Vader, obviously, who showed up for like a good portion of this game. But after that, you got Dagon, you got the Ninth Sister, you got Ravis, Bode, and then you got the Empire baddies, obviously. The Bedlam Raiders. And then you have like all the bounty hunters that are hunting you down through this game. Like, there is no shortage of villains in this game, which probably is why this story felt like it was constantly moving. Oh, and this is probably a great time to talk about droids. The Bedlam Raiders are one of like the rival factions in this game, and they have repurposed the Separatist droids. And my God, I know Clone Wars and the Phantom Menace were like my childhood Star Wars, right? Like, those were the movies that came out when I was a kid. But I have such a nostalgia boner for the Clone Wars. The droids coming back, just being like, Roger, Roger. And then you have like the sound of the droidicas and just all their weapons. Like, that is an era of Star Wars that I know gets hate, but like, just repurpose it, retool it, reuse it. Like, as good as Respawn did here, I would love to see Respawn just do a Clone Wars video game. Like, tell the story from a Jedi who's going to battle. Tell new stories that weren't in the animated series. Find, like, a Jedi out there. Quinlan, like, take Quinlan and tell his stories during the Clone Wars. But it's just such an epic era for the Star Wars universe. And I loved seeing the droids and getting those Clone War references again. Thank you, EA. Like, that's all I can say. It's just that I loved that part of the game. Again, I know I'm spending a good point talking about droids, but like, the overall story of this game, it's just like, they literally put together a movie here. The story that Respawn and EA put together, I would put up against a lot of the Star Wars properties that are out there. In fact, you know, going back to like top fives again. I mean, like, if I had to put this game story, it would be in my top 5. Like, ranking Star Wars properties. 5th place we would probably put Kenobi. Yeah, the Disney Plus Kenobi show. Number 4 would be the Clone Wars animated series. I adore that. 3 would probably be Jedi Survivor. Jedi Survivor would probably be my top 3 Star Wars properties of all time. This story was fantastic. 2 obviously is Empire, and then 1 is Rogue One. That would probably be my top 3. Rogue One, Empire, Survivor. This game story was such a fantastic Star Wars story, and I absolutely just loved it. And then when you take that out of like the cinematic universe and you start putting it like in the video game universe, yeah, there's a really solid argument to make that this game might be the best Star Wars game of all time. Like, yes, Old Republic is a fantastic Star Wars game, but Jedi Survivor had everything that I could want in a Star Wars game. And going back to like watching Empire Strikes Back in the theater for the first time as a kid, this game captured me and grabbed me and brought me back to that childhood Star Wars nostalgia. I would finish playing this game, and when I would go offline, I'd just be thinking about it. You know, I would be imagining like the story, smiling at the stuff that happened, and it's just, you don't get that very often. So when that happens in a video game, it's so special. And I know that there are people who have had less than positive experiences with this game. Like, I've got a buddy who their family is playing this game on PC, and the game is literally crashing every 10 minutes. And that's unacceptable for a video game. But I didn't run into that. I played it on PlayStation 5. I did get the occasional like stutter and maybe like a little jittery in the gameplay, but never had a crash. And even if I did, I genuinely think like the gameplay and the story still puts this game in like Game of the Year contender. It sucks that it has like this shadow over it that people are running into like performance issues, because this game is such a gem. And Hogwarts Legacy was on my list for Game of the Year, and we'll see how the year ends out, but like this game is definitely on the list. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, at this point, we haven't played Zelda yet, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor is Game of the Year for me. Like, it's such a fantastic game. Not a 10 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. Definitely would give it a 9 out of 10. I think an 8 is too low of a score. I would definitely be in that 9.2 range for me. But I also hate that. I hate scoring games because it's like, well, what do you really define a 10 out of 10? Like, are you going to say, like, Last of Us is a 10 out of 10, but can an indie game be 10 out of 10? But, like, yeah, if I'm playing by their rules, I think you'd be, like, 9.2 out of 10. And yes, we were provided a copy by EA, so I can understand how people would be like, well, that's definitely influencing it, but, like, come on, man. Like, so many people are giving free copies of the game, and I even went out and told someone this week, that I was like, even if I wasn't given a copy of the game, I was going to buy the game anyway. I would have paid $70 for this game. And I don't think there's anything that happened during my gameplay that would have changed my opinion. If I would have paid $70 for this game, I still would have been happy. I would have been like, man, that was so worth it. I love this game. And it would still be a 9.2. 9.2 out of 10. 100%. Even if I paid for the game, that wouldn't change anything. Now, that being said, we have praised the hell out of the game. I do have some gripes. The game's not perfect, which is why it's not a 10 out of 10. First gripe, I beat the game in about 20 hours. I do wish the game would have been a little longer, which is kind of a weird thing for me to say, because I'm in a point in my life where, like, I don't have much time to game, so short experiences like this are kind of fun and it's kind of nice to have. But at the same time, like, I would have loved more to do in this universe. Maybe some more planets to visit, or do a little more after the credits. Another gripe that I have is definitely spoiler territory, but like at the end of the game when you're fighting Bode on Tanalorr, there's a moment where like he's like pummeling your face, and the screen says embrace the darkness, and it gives you like a button to press. I didn't press it. Because I was like, I'm not going to embrace the darkness. I'm a Jedi. Why would I embrace the darkness? Like, that's just a terrible idea. You legit die. It legit kills you if you don't embrace the darkness. I know this is like going down a rabbit hole. You can't change it, and it's part of the story. Like, Cal's struggling with the darkness, so it makes sense. But, like, give me an option. Like, have the option of, like, a different ending if Cal didn't embrace the darkness versus if he did. But yeah, I was a little bummed by that option. And the final gripe that I would have for the game has to do with Tanalorr as well. We spend so much time talking about this planet and how it's going to be like the new frontier. There's so much hope. And when you arrive, there's not really much to do. Like, you have the fight, the boss fight, you find some uncovered hidden objects, and that's it. Like, I would love, like, maybe New Game Plus or having, like, more to do in the future on Tantalore where, like, you could start moving people over or new vendors start popping up on Tantalore. I would just, like, when Red Dead 2, like, it ends, but, like, the game still has, like, another 20 hours. I would have been perfectly okay if they would have done that on Tantalore, where it's like, yeah, the game's over, the story is over, but you still have all this other stuff to do on the planet now. I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't that on there, but again, that's a small gripe in the overall scheme of things. But with that, I have to assume that like Star Wars Jedi 3 will also take place on Tantalore, so I'll get that eventually in the future. We'll probably get like a time jump, and we'll see like a thriving Tantalore settlement. Kata Akuna will probably be like living there. And Cal will probably be like slowly rebuilding the Jedi Order. Although as hyped as I am for the third game, I have to say, we're probably going to be waiting a while. Like EA said that game is going to be taking place on Unreal Engine 5. And seeing that like the first two Star Wars games released kind of buggy and glitchy, I could totally see them being like, hey, this upcoming game, we're going to take our time. We're not going to rush this one. So 4 or 5 years from now, yeah, we probably might be playing Star Wars Jedi 3. That'll also probably be like PlayStation 6 and the Xbox whatever, but like, yeah, this is probably going to be, I would assume Star Wars Jedi 3 will be a next gen console. It'll be whatever's after the PlayStation 5. But that, of course, is just my thoughts on the game. I had a fantastic time playing it. I'm really interested to hear, like, what you all think. How were your experiences playing the game? Do you think that I'm like completely off base by calling it the greatest Star Wars game of all time, or am I correct with that? And before we close out, I'd like to take the opportunity just to say thank you to everybody. This was Star Wars week for us, so every episode that we posted was Star Wars related. Some of you absolutely loved it, some of you just weren't interested at all. Moving forward on the channel, we're going to be kind of doing a lot more of these weekly focuses. I think that it energizes me, it allows me to be creative, but it also takes a lot of the pressure off of being like, we're going to be the ones to break the news, and we have to talk about such and such topic because this is the big story of the day. It gives us a little more control of our future, and also a lot better for my mental health. So thank you to everybody who supported the channel this week. We got some big things planned. We're going to be partnering with more developers like we partnered with EA this week. And if you had fun watching the Star Wars content, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We had live streams. We built Lego sets this week. We did a little bit of everything. But if you enjoyed it, stay tuned. There's going to be plenty more of that. Next week, we have a brand new game we're going to be talking about. And if there's anything that you would change personally or something that we did that you're not a fan of, just put it in the comment section. No hard feelings. I can take criticism occasionally. I've been told I'm really bad at criticism. But, like, if it's constructive, I will definitely take it. If it's just negative to be negative, we're not going to read it. But definitely would be interested in kind of your thoughts on how it went. But thank you. Thank you guys again for hanging out Star Wars Week. Thank you for always checking out our content. And also tuning into the first episode of the Nerf Gaming Game of the Week podcast. Until next time, keep gaming, and may the Force be with you. Thanks for watching, guys.